Good afternoon, everyone. We're so glad you could join us today as we talk about the magic behind OpenCourseWare. In some ways, what we do is truly magical because we get to help produce the MIT content thousands of people use every day. And we're happy to share it with you, some of the inner workings of what it takes to make OCW courses and materials. I'm Yvonne Eng, and I help run the annual giving and donor relations for MIT Open Learning. We're still celebrating 20 years of OpenCourseWare, reaching more than 200 million people around the world. And we want to recognize everyone who's used or supported the site because really you've helped us reach this incredible success. So thank you for that. A few housekeeping notes. Today's discussion will be recorded and shared with our community. Your participation today indicates your willingness to share your questions and comments you make in this recording. If you would like captions, please click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen. To ask a question, please type it in the Q&A box. Just to let you know, we received over 100 questions and comments to date, so we'll plan to try to answer some of those in a blog or on our social media channels as well as this session. And so today I'm super happy to have three wonderful OCW team members who all know the ins and outs of OpenCourseWare. So would you amazing people briefly introduce yourself and perhaps share a fun fact, please? And we'll start with you, Sharon.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Sharon Lane. I'm a digital publication specialist at OpenCourseWare. I also manage the MirrorSite program. When not at work, I'm a freelance journalist covering for the Taiwanese American Society. I cover topics and events from education all the way to food and entertainment.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't even know that. That's awesome, Sharon. Shiba, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Shiba Nemet Nasser. I've been at MIT for a long time. I first worked at the business school, and I've been at OCW for a number of years now. I'm originally from California. I came here for grad school, and I'm also a professional singer. I specialize in opera and early music, so that's like my other career.
Oh, I love that. That's so fascinating. Brett, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Brett Paci, and I handle all things audio video for OCW with an awesome video team that we have here on staff. I've been at OCW almost since the beginning. What I do when I'm not working here is I also have another podcast in addition to working on the OCW podcast Shock Radio called The Skywalk. Sky as in sky, walk as in the thing you cook in, spelled W-O-K, a Star Wars podcast because the world doesn't have enough of those. And yeah, that's about it.
That's so great. I love your podcast, by the way. You know, I get my Star Wars fix. Anyway, thank you all for introducing yourselves. I want to share with the audience that these folks are completely lovely and wonderful to work with. And I feel truly lucky to be able to be their colleague. So for fun, and before we dive into the magic, we're going to test you, our friends joining us today, on your knowledge of OpenCourseWare. We're going to launch a poll. And the question is, there are a plethora of courses, lots and lots of courses on OCW. How many courses do you think are available on OCW? And we're just going to give like another 10 seconds before we close. Okay, and the results, 53% of you said more than 2,500 courses, and you guys are right. That's right, we cover just about everything taught at MIT at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. And we've been doing this, of course, for 20 years. So the very first question to the panel is this: With such a massive library of courses that span the entire MIT curriculum, like how does an OCW course come together? Like, how do you choose which topic to publish? And maybe we'll start with Shiva.
Sure. Yeah, let me give you kind of a general overview of our timeline and the publication cycle and what we cover in the curriculum. So, we have a pretty small publication team. Actually, it's only about 9 people, and overall OCW is we're only about 19 people. And we divide all the departments across MIT up between everyone and into 2 micro teams. So that's kind of how we organize. And looking back at what's covered in the curriculum, looking back at the original impetus 20 years ago at the founders, basically they wanted to publish all the courses materials online and make them widely available to everyone. So that means all. And you might be surprised, a lot of people are surprised, that MIT has majors not just in STEM, not just in math and engineering and physics and science, but you can get a degree at MIT in art, literature, writing, history, music, theater, several different languages, humanities, philosophy, and even ancient and medieval studies. So, you can definitely have a different kind of degree from MIT as an undergrad. So we do our best to represent what's offered across the entire MIT curriculum. And Brett will talk a little more about this later, but some types of courses are more suitable for online, as an online course, and what can be communicated on this medium. But I would say that we try our best to continue to cover the entire curriculum across MIT. And maybe Sharon, can you pick up a little bit more about how we choose classes?
Sure. So we had a holistic process to determine which courses to publish. First, we have a faculty advisory committee which provides guidance of publishing specialty courses that are MIT unique. And our director will reach out to each department and organize a departmental meeting with the department head, along with our publication managers and digital publication specialists. We will identify priority courses to publish for the cycle. And on top of that, we also receive faculty's requests to publish their courses. And also, I think in addition to that, OCW has several course lists, each of which represents a hot topic. And we constantly create new ones based on the feedback from our users. Yeah. So that's my comment.
Yeah, and Brett, can you talk a little bit more about how we manage user feedback and if there's any influence at all in our publication topics?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to video, it's sort of a microcosm of what Sharon and Shiba just described. It depends on faculty availability. What do we already have in the OCW catalog, even when it comes to video. But also we do take people's feedback. So for example, today somebody wrote in a question about organic chemistry, and that is the sort of thing that I will pass along to the rest of the team, to the team that works on with the different departments, to see if there is something that we might be able to recruit to publish as an OCW course or to film the class so that we can put the lectures up on YouTube. And on YouTube, we get a lot of feedback. So we have a great feedback team, including Shiba and my colleague Jason, who are constantly reviewing YouTube comments. And we do take those seriously. And when we see that people are requesting the same thing a lot, then we will look into it and we'll try to follow up with the department or with faculty members that might be teaching that course and see if we can get that one set up to film it and to put it on OCW.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we really do care about the people that use our resources. And so we're always listening to them and like wherever they show up, whether it's on our website through a feedback email or on our social media channels or on our YouTube channel. So you guys are working with some of the most accomplished and prestigious faculty in higher education. Like, what is it like to collaborate with them? And do you have any good stories to share? We'll start with you, Brett.
Yeah, I have a lot of good stories, and it's always fun working with MIT faculty. I get to work with anybody who is a guest on our podcast, Chalk Radio, or anybody who wants to have their class filmed to be put on OCW. This semester, have the privilege of working with Esther Duflo. Won't say exactly what until later, but I have also had the privilege, somebody that we're constantly getting feedback at OCW, glowing feedback about Gil Strang, who is so beloved at MIT and has been actually his content predates OpenCourseware. And I've had several opportunities to work with him, and he's always wanting to film his courses and share his materials with the world. The cool thing is, the MIT faculty are so nice. People say like never meet your heroes, but like everybody should meet Gil Strang because he's genuinely like one of the nicest people I've ever met. And it's always like a pleasure to work with him. And the funny thing, something I find inspirational about Gil is that Gil is now 86 years old and still going strong, still teaching. I think the last time I had the chance to meet with him for something that we were filming, one of his courses, me and Elizabeth, one of our colleagues at OCW who works with the math department, we got to Gil's office, and one of the first things he asked us was, "Did I tell you about my new book?" And Elizabeth and I looked at each other like, "We know you, like he just wrote one. Is he talking about that one, or is it another one?" And it turns out it was actually another one that was newer than the one that we had just found out about not that long ago. And the fact is, I think that was for the course that he's teaching. And this is what's so inspirational too. And you can hear this on the Chalk Radio podcast, the episode that features Gil Strang is he's still teaching new things. So the last course that we filmed, he was talking about machine learning. And in his interview on Chalk Radio, when Sarah, who hosts Chalk Radio, asked him, what is it like to teach, a new topic that you've never taught before, that's a relatively new field? And just immediately said, "Oh, it's exciting." So to me, just seeing that he's completely fearless in teaching new content, learning new things still. We're not all Gil Strang, but we can all keep learning. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of great experiences. We feel very fortunate to do what we do.
Okay, great. So when I worked with MIT faculty, I would see the shine in their eyes when they talked about their OCW story. So one time I was working with Emeritus Professor Shigeru Miyagawa, who is a dear friend of OCW. He was telling us about the story of the founding of OCW back in 2000, way before I joined the team in 2012. And hearing him telling us about the commitment to teaching and the enthusiasm of like sharing their teaching materials with the world that is stated in the MIT's mission to disseminate knowledge just resonated in my heart. I feel so proud and humbled at the same time when I'm working with our instructors. I feel very proud to be part of this vision of a commitment to teaching, this mission of sharing knowledge with the world, with everyone, and this OER, great OER movement. But I also feel very humbled at the same time because as it is, and it has to be a collective effort. This cannot be done by any single person. We need our MIT faculty researchers, the publication team, our users, our donors to all be part of this effort. So that's my sharing.
So I think I'll just say one more thing about that. I wanted to say that we have such a wide range of individual personalities of these amazing faculty that we have at MIT, and working with them is just so much fun. I absolutely love working with MIT faculty. And one of the things that comes through and is sort of, I would say, is comes through each and every one of them is their dedication to teaching and their inspiration and their to make their teaching materials available through OCW to the world, because they really support OCW in this, because they know that being able to go through OCW is a much wider reach, something that they simply can't do just by teaching individual students in the classroom. So I just wanted to add that.
Yvonne is having a technical difficulty. It's Zoom. All right, maybe I should kick off the poll. The poll says, there it is. Video lectures are some of the most popular resources on OCW. How many OCW courses contain video? I feel like we always want to take the over on these polls. Yes, that's right. So over, wow, I can't read that from here. But over 100 was the correct answer for that one. Looks like 78% of you got that one right. So yeah, just keep guessing the over. All right, so Yvonne is still having technical difficulty, so I guess I can just jump in here and lead us to our next topic. We know from feedback that we get from our learners that the most requested resource is video, and video is a powerful tool for learning. And people often ask, why aren't all the courses video based? And how do you choose which courses will have video? And I touched on this a little bit earlier. You know, that a lot of it is sort of self-selective, the faculty that are available, the courses and the topics that maybe haven't been covered as much on OCW yet. So we try to target those. But some of it is related to resources. Of course, MIT puts in a lot of money to even make OCW happen and to be able to share this content with the world for free. But donations help as well. So we appreciate everybody who gives to OCW, and that does give us greater flexibility to take on more course videos and share that stuff with the world. I will also add to that you know, one of the things that we've tried to do over the last, I'd say 5 years or so, I'd say in the early days of OCW, even with just the general course content, we targeted the materials and the courses that really lent themselves to a website that had good tangible materials that were easy to make available online, that people could really learn from online. And something we've tried to do over the last several years is target some of the things that are even more difficult. So one of the great things at OCW is the OCW Educator Initiative, led by Sarah Hansen, who does an amazing job with that. And what that's allowed us to share not just the course content, but also how the courses are taught. And it's also allowed us to sort of showcase some of the things, even in video, that aren't typically that easy to capture with video. So one of the things at MIT that is so important are recitation sessions. And so going back several years, we were able to work with Steve Hall and Aero Astro department to capture. That's just one example of something we were able to capture that's a little different than what you see in a typical classroom, where you have you know, the session starting off with a problem on the board and then the instructor going around and helping different groups of students to problem solve. And so we've really been trying to do some of that. We've also gotten to do that in a recent course that we published, 5310, which is a chemistry course, being able to film some things in the lab and filming a field trip to the Charles River, which we hope to be able to share with everyone in the world at some point in the future. So again, there are restrictions to what we can do, resources being one of them, but I feel very fortunate that we've been able to capture as much as we can, and even some of the difficult stuff to capture and share that with the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you for answering that, Brett. I think when we were looking at recent analytics for the the videos on our YouTube channel, we know that our videos have been viewed over like 13 million times. That's incredible. So now we are ready to take some questions. We had gotten, as I mentioned before, over 100 questions and comments from folks that have registered for this event. But one question from Aditya, and a few other people had asked this as well, is whether or not OCW would ever entertain the idea of providing some sort of credential, a badge or certificate for completing an OCW course. He says ever since the pandemic hit, it seems to have become an important thing to possess. So happy to like throw it to anybody on the panel. Shiva, did you want to take a crack at that question?
Sure, yeah. So this is a question that we get a lot. As Brett mentioned, I'm also the feedback. I'm on the feedback team. I'm the feedback lead, actually. And so currently, OCW is not set up to do any kind of tracking or creating a login or anything like that. So we don't actually have any way to know whether someone's completed any course materials. However, we do have Open Learning has the Open Learning Library right now, which you can track your progress. They don't offer certificates per se, but this is a place where I can't say whether or not we're entertaining this. I have no idea what they're thinking about. That has generally been something that's been with the MOOCs and MITx, and some of that is changing now. So there may be new possibilities, but OpenCourseWare is really more of a library and an archive, and we're just not set up currently to do anything like that. Although there's many cases of people who take OpenCourseWare materials and use them like in a high school situation, independent study, maybe in a community college where they don't have a specific higher course that we do offer on OpenCourseWare, and use those materials to grant a student credential in that course. But that we don't really have any involvement in that, but we just know that does happen. So unfortunately, currently no plans for certification, but so we can't make any promises about that, but who knows the future. It's definitely something as the user points out, it's something that is considered important. And MIT has some other new things like MicroMasters and so on that do offer certification. So you can look into those as well.
Thanks for answering that, Shiva. The next question comes from Mohammed. He asks, can we broadcast live classes from MIT to universities around the world? And I'll ask either Sharon or Brett to take that answer.
Okay, I can take that one. So yeah, that's not something that we really currently do. MIT does have sort of joint classes that it offers. The MIT Singapore Alliance, I think, was one that some of our colleagues who now work with OCW had worked on in the past. As far as OCW actually sharing out live courses, it's not something that we really do at all. We're doing something pretty close this semester, actually. It's an interesting question. The course is course number 21. I think it's 21A SO1, which is about reparations and colonialization. And that's a course where we're really trying something new, where we're publishing the videos before the class and then using the comments from the comment section to sort of kick off the discussion that happens in class. So really, the videos are being shared with our YouTube subscribers. And then the discussion that takes place there is actually influencing the on-campus experience. So as far as live stuff, this is about a live stream like this is about as live as we get, but I think that's something that we could see more of in the future, if we feel like there's a need for it. One of the challenges in that, of course, is that one of the big things that we have to take into account at OCW is intellectual property. So if there's any sort of third-party materials involved that are fine to use in the class on campus, those have to be worked through to make sure we have permission to share them out to the world, the way we do with all of our materials. So that's also an important factor.
Thanks, Brett. The next question comes from Tom, who asks, what do we see as the vision for remote rural schools within our Navajo Nation where I teach? And I think Sharon might be able to answer this question.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So OCW actually has a mirror site program that we would send a hard drive that contains a hard copy of our current live site. And we use this, it would be great for internet limited learning communities. So for Tom, it'd be great to share the words for us, share with your learning communities, share with your circles, and then help them connect with us. And we'd be happy to establish more collaborations with different learning communities that have this needs around the world.
Thank you. And I would encourage you, Tom, to shoot us an email, ocw@mit.edu, and let us know where you're based so that we can connect and see if we can get a hard drive to you so that you can share with your community. The next question comes from Muse. How significant is the difference between an OCW course and one offered on campus? I'll shoot it off to the panel, whoever wants to jump in and answer.
Brett, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, I could answer it. I mean, I can answer it in terms of video courses. I mean, typically what we do is we film classes that are happening on campus. So what you're getting in the video is pretty much everything that you would get. So not much different, I guess, would be the answer when it comes to video. Really, the only things that get cut out of our videos are any, personal information like a faculty's, contact information and things like that. Technical problems that happen in the class. If the projector's not working, we save you the trouble of sitting through that. But really, most of what's happening on campus is what you see in the videos.
And I'll add on to Brett's comment. I think, as a publication specialist, we tried our best to preserve the authenticity of the teaching materials. So I mean, from time to time, we do have to do some treatment because of the IP reason. We have to make sure that the materials we're sharing actually is compatible to our CC license. I think that's usually the major source of editing. Other than that, we can say that it's pretty authentic to what was offered on campus.
Yeah, and do you guys still try to recreate images when there are copyright issues? Is that something that you guys still try to do?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, we've done that for entire courses at times when it was necessary. So that's another thing that's really cool, is occasionally we've been able to commission new images to serve the same purpose as the images that we couldn't use due to copyright reasons. And sometimes, just a little shout out to our amazing team of editors, Jason, Maureen, and Elaine, and Andrea, who do amazing work. Sometimes they even recreate the, when you have a slide, we're filming the slides that are being shown in the class. For some, sometimes there's a laser pointer or something else that doesn't really show up well in the video. So sometimes they even painstakingly go through and recreate the movement of the cursor or the pointer so that the end user can see exactly what the instructor was pointing at.
So Bruce asked, how much feedback do you get and what do you do with it? And I think Shiva would be a good point person for this question.
Yeah, sure. Well, so we get a lot of feedback. So we have about 2 million people visiting the website every month and 4 million people on YouTube. So per month. So we definitely get a lot and a wide variety of feedback. So we try to answer all the questions that come in through the web form, and Jason, who's on the video team that Brett mentioned before, is also, and he and I answer feedback questions on YouTube as well. So we really do have a wonderful user base. So most of the feedback that we get is very thoughtful and constructive. And as Brett said, we do take everyone's suggestions and requests seriously. So if someone's asking for a specific course or a feature request, we'll log that, and we'll oftentimes similar things will bubble up, especially over the years. And our users are also really helpful if something goes wrong, if something breaks, they'll send us messages and let us know, which is great. But, we really do consider the user feedback, and especially any kind of requests for, features, things that have kind of bubbled up over the years. Like in our creating the next generation of OCW, like we take these seriously, and we take them all into consideration. So, we really there's a lot of great ideas that people have, and, the user base are the people who use the materials. So we definitely want to hear from you. We want to know how you use it and how to make it better. So.
Thank you. So we actually have another video question from Christopher, who says, it seems to me that the video lectures are a bit tilted towards lectures for which knowledge stays relevant longer, like math, physics, chemistry, electrical engineering, etc., versus fast-moving fields, for example, say JavaScript. Is this correct?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think I can honestly say that is not one of the biggest factors that we take into account when it comes to a video course. I think the bigger question would be, is it something that we just filmed last semester or last year, and can that money be better spent on another course that might not currently exist on OCW? So that's not really something that we think about too much. We do think about that a lot when it comes to refreshing the content on OCW, because you're right, there are a lot of subjects that pretty much stay the same or pretty close for a longer time, and other subjects that are faster moving. So across the whole publication, beyond just video, we do try to keep up with that as best we can. Usually with video, as much video as we do have, it's still a small percentage of what's being taught overall at MIT. So that doesn't usually factor in to the decisions that we have to make there.
Great, yeah. We have a question that was submitted from Karen. What is a typical timeline for publishing a course? Do you ever work with teams of faculty? And if so, how do you facilitate? Maybe Sharon, you could take this question.
Yes, I'm happy to. I actually had a quick comment to the previous question. Sometimes it is the instructors or the teaching team's wish to capture or not to capture. I think sometimes, usually it's a reflection of the topic as well. Some topics just evolve so quickly. They don't even want to capture the video. They actually want it to go out as fast as possible. Then we will make a very quick executive decision, say we just publish the lecture slides, and then so we can quickly move on for the next edition. And then I think, in a typical cycle for a course for publication, if we look at from the beginning of the initial touch point, when we have the first engagement meeting till the course is published, usually we will get in touch with the teaching team before they start teaching it, so we can plan. If there's any filming, we can plan with Brett we can plan with the teaching team how to optimize the capturing or anything. But usually the publication will start as soon as the course is finished for the semester. So if I count that as the beginning of the cycle, it's usually 6 months before with the real publication work, the author and everything starts. So, but once we start, put this in our publication queue, I would say it depends on the complexity of each course, whether it's very rich in content, whether it needs a lot of video editing or content editing because of a lot of third-party intellectual property objects. So it could vary from just 2 weeks all the way to 2 months. Sometimes we do have to reach out to copyright holder to get their permission in order to include some images from a journal or another professor. So, but I would say average probably just about maybe a month. What do you think, Shiba?
Yeah, well, so I would say that it really depends. 1 to 2 months for, I would say, your basic course that doesn't have very many copyright issues, no video. But, it really depends on a content-rich course that has lots of videos, that has lecture notes, that it's full of copyright clearance type of things, that can take, 5 or 6 months, depending on how quickly we get questions answered, how quickly permissions come in, and so on. So it really varies, but we try to keep things in our 6-month cycle. So we kind of follow the semesters of the 6-month cycle, as Sharon pointed out.
And along with that, Michael asks, how do you maintain quality assurance during assessments? Like if a course has an assessment, I guess.
I think that he might be talking about assessments, but we don't do live assessments. Am I interpreting that wrong? I don't know.
Maybe we could talk about just the accuracy of all the materials that we share out in the world.
Well, we do. We have a very detailed quality assurance process in the publication cycle. So along the way, there's some peer review, but we have a fairly detailed FQA process before the course and all of the materials go live on our site. And this involves multiple members of the team going through every link, every PDF, every page, making sure that it complies with, first of all, it complies with a certain amount of accessibility, which includes captioning videos and attempting to make portable documents as accessible as possible. And our videos are archived on Internet Archive. We have a multiple step process for videos, metadata. So it is a really kind of involved technical process, especially at the end. We want to make sure that all the materials are ready to go out into the world with the quality that is standard for all OpenCourseWare materials. Sharon, do you want to say anything about the FQA process?
I mean, Shiba has told a very complete story of it. I would say definitely for the amount of time we put into author a page, create a website, we try to put the same amount of time to QA the course site. And I can only say that we have many pairs of good eyes. So I feel like, that's definitely some assurance. But of course, from time to time, Shiba's feedback team will forward users' feedback if there's any errors spotted, we do have a mechanism to post-publication, we still try to correct any errors. So hopefully that extra feedback loop, we will add another layer of quality assurance. Yeah.
Great. A question comes in from Jeanette, who wants to know, do MIT students help you create the courses? And I'll ask anybody
it.
to.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll start. We often collaborated with MIT students. I remember, there were courses when MIT students, they were the TAs, and they definitely helped to put together, the teaching materials. We also hired MIT students to transcribe lecture notes, so the handwritten lecture notes can be accessible. So there are different ways to collaborate, and I think maybe Shiba and Brett can add more.
Yeah, I can just mention that we're working on something right now that's new for us too. We're working with a student currently who was an undergrad, graduated last year, and is now a grad student at MIT, working on things like recording audio of courses, which is far less expensive than recording video, and then using student notes or other things or the slides, and having students do the editing work to put those together into something that works for students and for OCW users, across the internet. So that's something that we're working on now, and I think we'll keep experimenting with that sort of thing. And it doesn't work for everything, but then there are also things that you don't need video of the instructor in front of the class, that you can learn other ways. So yeah, that's something we're doing currently that's pretty exciting.
So I think we have 2 more questions, and this one comes from Omar. What is the achievement you are proud of the most at OCW? And Omar says, thank you for this amazing webinar. Shiba, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I would say that I absolutely love the educator aspect of OpenCourseWare and the podcast and all the educator interviews that we have, which it sort of began. I came to OpenCourseWare in 2013, and that's around the time that project began. All of the educator materials come directly from the professor. They come directly from the course. We talk to them about their pedagogy. We talk to them about how they think about teaching. And to me, having that human aspect of it, and the aspect of how they think about teaching is really one of the most wonderful things about what we offer on OCW, along with all the teaching materials that you can learn from. You can really learn from how the MIT faculty thinks about their teaching and thinks about how to improve students' understanding of the materials.
Brett or Sharon, what are you most proud of?
I'll go first. So I have to share that for the years that I'm working at OpenCourseWare, I realized that nothing should be taken for granted. I know that every instructor at MIT, they really go above and beyond in order to share their teaching materials. They're very busy with their research and teaching, but they're willing to do this. Usually after work, I often receive email, late in the evening or during the weekend, and I know that that's the time when the faculty, they finally have the free time to address, some of the questions we ask them. And then I always feel very grateful. And then last year, I remember when the pandemic first hit, it was a very stressful time, and everybody was all like trying to figure out, how to deal with the reality. And I received several emails from collaborators in the past, and then every single email just thanked the OCW. They were so happy that they shared, they actually worked with OCW and shared the teaching materials. And they feel so happy that when everyone was so separated because of the pandemic, at least their teaching materials still communicated with the world, still connected people, through their teaching. And that power was really a great moment last year when it was very challenging for everybody.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Sharon was talking about, one of the things that I get asked the most from working at OCW is we get people in my personal life is like, wait, so MIT gives their course materials away for free, and then people usually don't believe me, or they don't believe that there's no catch. But that really is the case. So I mean, I'm very proud that the Institute decided to do that, that then President Chuck Vest and his sort of team of open pioneers were willing to share, to open up the all of the course content possible to share with the world for free. And yeah, I think I would also sort of second what Sheba said about the OCW Educator Initiative. And one of the reasons that I'm so proud of that is what we had started doing before the Chalk Radio podcast was we were filming interviews with faculty, but then we were editing them down to very discrete topics. So we might take an hour-long video and cut it down to a handful of 3 or 4 minute clips. And maybe this clip is about active learning. How do you implement active learning in the classroom, and about these discrete topics? And then we were realizing, though, that there was so much that was coming out in those conversations that really got into what motivated them to teach the course, to teach the subject at all, and then what sort of failures led them to teach it the way they do. And that's one of the things we love hearing, and it's just so great to hear how much MIT faculty are willing to share the failures and what they learned from them, so that other people can learn from that as well. So yeah, I'm really proud of that, and really just being able to share that spirit of open and sharing that exists at MIT.
That's so wonderful. Thank you for that. I have one last question, and this comes from PN, who asks, what do you see as a natural future for open courseware? Like, what about like out of the box ideas do you see? And I'll throw it out to all of you. Go wild with this one, you guys.
All right, I guess I have to start with this one. Man, that's a really tough question. I mean, I think some of the experiments that we've referenced that we're doing to be able to capture things in different type of media is something exciting that hopefully we'll get to do more of. The podcast, and maybe there are other possibilities there that we haven't really factored in. We've talked about including more in the podcast from students or self-learners around the world, and we're always asking for them to share their feedback with us. But maybe there's more to be done there. Yeah, I guess that's a start. Sheba?
Yeah, well, I thinking about open educational resources that we, going back to what Brett said, the faculty that founded OpenCourseware, their vision has brought us, it's really the same vision that we're fulfilling at this point. But our Creative Commons license is still a little bit limited. And I think that looking forward, we would be opening up more, sharing more, having it be more free to share and use. That's something that I can foresee being in the future, having it be more compatible with all of the open educational resources, and being able to be shared on that level, which is more open, slightly more open than ours.
And I think, I hear from the faculty, I hear from the users, people want more, people want faster, they want to share their course faster. So I think if there's any future with the power of AI, machine learning, I'm hoping that maybe in the future, there's even like a more efficient way to share the teaching materials from MIT. We can just like, share with the world. And I also, as a humble hope, I also hope that we can reach out to more learning communities. We can serve more communities around the world. I understand that even though that it is really nice to reach out to many users around the world, but there are many users who are with limited internet resources. We want to reach out to them too. So I'm hoping that our Mirasite program will continue to reach out to users who was not able to access a live site, but I have to say, I don't believe that education should be a privilege. I want it to be available for any learners, whoever needed.
I love that. You guys are all visionaries. In addition to this, like every day producing the resources that so many people rely on. It's super wonderful. So with that, we've come to the end of our session. I just want to thank Brett, Shiva, and Sharon for sharing their insights into this important work. I'd love to recognize our colleagues who are helping us answer questions as best they can. That's Megan Mafucci, Yongpeng Wang, and Kathleen Nalazetti. I also want to thank you. You are amazing learners and educators, and we're so grateful for your feedback and participation today. Your thoughts, as we mentioned before, are super helpful because really for OCW to be successful, we need to be responsive to the folks that are using our materials. So with that in mind, no one knows OCW like our learners, and so we try to make the site as useful as possible. And as we look to the next generation of OCW, which should be available within the next couple of months, the site will be mobile friendly. And so we imagine that that has the potential of just serving billions of people who have at least a cell phone and have that motivation to learn. So we're really excited about that. And we're dedicated to all of this great work. And really, this work needs support. So here are a few ways you can help us. You could give. You can make a donation in any amount. It helps us deliver and share these courses with the world. And if you aren't in a position to give, which is totally understandable, please help us spread the word about OpenCourseWare to your friends, family, and colleagues. Our teams do an amazing job on our social media channels. So just reposting, retweeting, anything we post would be like super helpful. And lastly, we really want to hear your story. OCW, like over the years, we know that OCW has been a real important support for folks as they enter as they go on their learning journey. And so your words and your experience are super powerful and meaningful to our funders, our supporters, and everyone in the community. So with that, I want to thank you again to everyone for spending time with us. We have a super brief survey that will pop up at the end of this event. And it's one way to let us know what else you want to hear, like what other kind of events should we host. And I want to say to everybody, thanks again. Be well, take care, and keep learning. We'll see you soon.